Welcome back to Hardball. I'm Pete Williams in for Chris Matthews. It's no secret the September 11th attacks played a huge role in the last presidential election, and they still do to this day. But have political figures gone too far in using 9/11 for political gain? Kristen Breitweiser lost her husband, and Peter Gadiel lost his son in the September 11th attacks. Both of them join us now. Thank you both very much. Ms. Breitweiser, you've been fairly outspoken about remarks by Karl Rove. What did you think was wrong with them?
Frankly, I'm sick and tired of people using 9/11 for political gain. I'm sick of the rhetoric. What I would like is a sound, comprehensive counterterrorism strategy so that I know that this country is safer than it was on the day that my husband was killed. Unfortunately, all I hear is a lot of rhetoric going back and forth and very little evidence that we are actually any safer today, and that worldwide terrorist incidents have actually decreased as a result of our intervention in Iraq.
You were quite involved in the people who got the 9/11 Commission going. You think there is not much evidence that we are safer today than we were on 9/11?
I think certainly not. The State Department put out statistics that worldwide incidents of terrorism have actually tripled in the last year. If you look at the way Iraq is going, certainly it's a hotbed for terrorists. They're all flocking there. And I think that's something people need to realize is that, you know, even though the war is in Iraq, it is our American soldiers getting killed over there. There's still American citizens getting killed by terrorists. And Iraq has nothing to do with 9/11. Afghanistan had something to do with 9/11, as did Osama bin Laden, but yet we have not caught bin Laden, and we left Afghanistan, and now Afghanistan is suffering from, you know, drug proliferation and, you know, unrest of its own. And I don't see any proof that our terrorism strategies and policies right now are actually working.
Mr. Gadiel, how about you? Should 9/11 itself be off limits to political discussion?
I wish it were, but I think in the last 4 years we've seen that it's going to be exploited by everybody on every side of the issue and from every part of the political spectrum. Mr. Rove's statement is just typical for what we've seen in the last 4 years. It's nothing unusual.
Well, what about Ms. Breitweiser's comments that 9/11 has nothing to do with Iraq? The President says, and his administration says, if you can start getting democracy in the Middle East, you will start to chew away at the base that terrorists used. Do you agree?
I wish I had an answer to that, and I'm as confused as I think most people are as to whether Iraq had anything to do with 9/11 or not. I really don't have the answer to that. I'm just frustrated. I would share Ms. Breitweiser's frustration about where we are today, though.
Really? You also don't think that we're that much safer than we were on September 11th?
No, I don't.
Even with all the Homeland Security arrangements?
No. I've talked to too many people who are on the ground, the agents who are involved in Border Patrol and Internal Enforcement of Immigration Law and FBI agents and TSA agents, and I think largely it's a matter of show and nothing else.
Ms. Breitweiser, do you think one party or the other is more problem here in using 9/11 for political gain, or are both doing it?
Look, I don't even know for sure because I don't spend my time doing that. What I can tell you is that we've had an enormous opportunity in the last 3.5 years to learn from 9/11 and to fix the failures and to make the nation safer. And Peter is correct. We have done far too little compared to what we could have done in the last 3.5 years. And the bottom line is we have a Republican-held Congress and a Republican administration. There's no excuses for these things not being taken care of, whether it's immigration, securing ports, making mass transportation safe, securing loose nukes, securing nuclear power plants, becoming less dependent on foreign oil. All of these things have not occurred in the last 3.5 years, and it's inexcusable. We will have another attack, and I don't know what our officials are going to say to the American people when Americans are killed on the homeland soil. What are they going to say? What are they going to show? I mean, we haven't successfully prosecuted one terrorist linked to 9/11 in 3.5 years. We haven't held one person accountable for 9/11. We can't even capture Osama bin Laden. So I don't know what that's saying. And the saddest part is that after 9/11, the entire world was united against terrorists. And now we find that the entire world hates America, we've alienated ourselves, and recruitment for Al-Qaeda is through the roof, and we're out there alone, and that is not making us any safer. That's my understanding of 9/11. I want to know that we're safer, and we are not.
Mr. Gadiel, what would be the litmus test for you? What would be indicators that we are safer? That, you know, the new Homeland Security Secretary, Mike Chertoff, says we'll never be able to completely eliminate any possibility for a terror attack. Surely that's not the test, is it?
Well, I would like to see some improvement in our border security. Right now we have basically free entry for any terrorist who wants to get into this country, and the President refuses to enforce immigration law to prevent that from happening. I disagree with Ms. Breitweiser. The whole world was not united behind us on immediately after 9/11. I do remember the Osama T-shirts that showed up in Mexico City and the Philippines, and I don't think the entire world is united against us now. I mean, it's a much more gray situation than that. But if you talk to people, agents, the actual agents who are operating in the field, you really come away with a feeling of despair that there's any competence at mid-level administration or above.
Let me just both ask you briefly, Ms. Breitweiser, I know you were very involved, as I say earlier, with the families of 9/11 who pushed to have the 9/11 Commission. What are you both doing now to follow up on these energies? Do you follow what the Commission is doing? Are you organized? What do you do?
Clearly, I work with September 11th Advocates. It's the other Jersey girls that fought for the creation of the Commission. We put out press releases, and we, keep an eye on what the Commission is doing. Most recently, we've been lobbying for the release of the CIA Inspector General's report that's currently being held up. We'd certainly like to have that released to the American public in a declassified version so that we can have a full understanding of 9/11 as Mr. Rove has. And obviously, we'd like the release of the 28 pages of the Joint Inquiry of Congress. And finally, we'd like to make sure that the FBI's computer system that we've spent millions of dollars on is actually working and being used, because after all, if we can't give the FBI the computer system that it needs to thwart terrorist attacks, we are no safer than we were on 9/11.
And Mr. Gadiel?
I've been working primarily on securing borders, something that the President is clearly opposed to, and we can't really have a real war on terror, despite Mr. Rove's claims, unless we are going to secure our borders. He sends Border Patrol agents to secure the borders of Iraq, but not ours, and I find his statement the other day just ridiculous. He's in no position to criticize anybody until we have a real war on terror, and that means keeping terrorists out, fighting terrorist travel.
All right, Peter Gadiel, Kristen Breitweiser, thank you both very much for your time.